This black woman shows up to a pool that's supposedly having a free swim, and the white people are like, "No, you can't be here because you don't live in the area," even though that's not the case. And it's only black people there, and they're getting turned down, while the white people are like, "Nah, this ain't racist. It's just because you don't live in the right. You just misunderstanding, Negro. I mean, miss." Always deny being racist. Just you're a racist. Racist white people.
The pool has since closed down, leaving everyone in the neighborhood to find a new place to keep cool this summer.
Interesting. So I was doing my normal shit, and of course, today we are getting weird with more than usual.
But for one local homeowner, she's had her fill of the sport. And the neighborhood kids, who she claims like to kick on their balls against her house. According to the woman recording, the activity has been going on for the past 6 months. As she claims, the requests for them to stop have been repeatedly ignored. So she tries yet again to convince the kids that this is
Like, it's crazy that kids are like this. Go kick it against a different house.
the ongoing disruption is affecting more than just her.
Oh, I can't stand kids like this. I can't stand fucking parents that let their kids be like this. Matt, what's up, man?
As the kids walk off, it's unclear if the woman's pleas will make a difference. So when the children's mother gets involved,
Oh, here she comes.
camera doesn't hold back.
Jewish mother. I mean, it's really fucking simple. You don't let your kids kick the ball against somebody else's fucking house.
Who appears to be the father of the two kids, the woman stopped recording. According to the homeowner, the children continue kicking the ball against their house. So the woman and her family decide that their only choice is to move to a more
To a move, right. They had to move because of it. Fucking assholes. Like, can't stand that shit, man. I can't stand, if you're a bad parent, then you shouldn't, like, do you realize, like, if people had to pass a test in order to be parents, like, there wouldn't be any more fucking children. Like, nobody would pass that test. Anyway, so I'm just reading about Israeli espionage today. I just happened to pull it up. I put Promise, Promis, and then Israel, because the Promise software is this software that Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, Robert Maxwell, sold to the U.S. government, and uh, he sold it to nuclear facilities and military facilities, and it had a secret back door that allowed Israel into the system. And I guarantee they've never been able to purge Israel from the system since. But this Promise software, it reminded me of Web. It reminds me of Web. The thing that Ian Carroll, who has been disappeared since May. In the beginning of May was the last time we saw a live video of Ian Carroll. And there has been somebody posting on his behalf. He's been reposting old videos, but he hasn't been seen since. And this is literally right after he drops this web software that he gives to the Goyim for free. It's a software that enables you to search the Epstein files more proficiently. It had like such a man, that sounds great kind of sales pitch, and it's free. Here, go download it for free, everyone. and now he's gone. There's something wrong there, and people aren't demanding answers enough. People aren't questioning things enough. So in the 60s, Israel's drive to secure a technological edge, particularly its secret nuclear weapons program, led to intensified espionage in the 1960s. In 1960, Israel's Minister of Defense created the Scientific Liaison Bureau, abbreviated LACAM in Hebrew, specifically to acquire scientific and technical information from abroad, especially from the United States. A CIA report from the era noted LACAM gave, quote, top priority to collecting U.S. scientific intelligence. This is one of those things where it's like anybody who claims that they used to be a veteran or, well, they are a veteran and they served and they fought for this country and they, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, again, if you claim to be a military person, if you claim to be a veteran, you should absolutely hate everything Israel. Like this is the shit you're supposed to have fought against. Would your average veteran be okay with China spying on Israel or spying on the US? Would your average veteran be okay with Russia spying on the US? No. And they try to make us fear that all the time with these fake ass stories. But at the end of the day, there's literally no proof that Russia interfered in the 2016 election. Maybe they got to him, but maybe they are trying to turn him while they post on his behalf until. Yeah, no, I don't think they got to him. I think he's always been. They just deactivated him for a minute. His job was done. People forget that Ian Carroll replaced Billy Carson. Billy Carson was that guy. He was Ian Carroll out of nowhere for about a year and then suddenly fell off the map while Ian Carroll blew up. And since Ian Carroll has literally zero social media presence zero social media footprint prior to March of 2023, like, I don't care how much Grok, because you weren't here on a previous video, I asked Grok about it. I don't care how much Grok says, well, some people just like their privacy, and some people... No one has zero social media footprint at 27, 26, 28, whatever he was when he appeared. Zero media footprint. He just doesn't exist. There's no pictures of him, no high school, no stories, no nothing. And then he just sort of appears online and happens to be a genius at it, and within 22 months he's on the Rogan show? Does that make any sense? And he's like one of the leading talking bad about Israel people. He's one of the leading people saying the things that aren't supposed to be said. So why was he allowed to? Why was he allowed such incredible meteoric success? And then he just disappears? This just... If I hadn't experienced this before, I might be less likely to notice it, I guess. I mean, I would think lots of people would be wondering where the fuck he is. At the very least, you care about the dude. And knowing the world that he's in, knowing the people that he's targeted, for him to disappear and then have nothing but other people supposedly posting on his behalf and shit, like, that's just not what happens. And if he had some sort of planned break or whatever, again, you don't just go, you don't build yourself this huge audience, hundreds of thousands of followers, people that are literally like, they give you money and shit because they support you, they appreciate you, they're concerned about you. You wouldn't just be like, okay, I'm gonna fucking you wouldn't just take a couple months off without telling people. If it was something normal, he would have just said, hey guys, I need to take a break. I have something else going on. Something. So I'm gonna drop off here for a minute, but I'll be okay and I'll keep you guys updated and shit like that. Like that's how that would work. You don't build an audience to just throw it away. But that's what fucking Brian Mullen did. That's what Ken O'Keefe did. Those were my big eye openers. When that happened to me and I fell for it, and then they basically spit in my face, like I was like, oh, that's not going to happen again. And it's very interesting that you can go back and see that I had been questioning Ian Carroll for a couple of months before he suddenly disappeared. Now, I know there are other people that do, but not they're not very commonplace. You don't see them very much. But this is like exactly what Ken O'Keefe did. This is exactly what Brian Mullen did. And for anyone to act like, he doesn't owe his followers at least the assurance that he's okay, like that's just crazy. This dude is the Israel guy. We know Israel fucking killed Charlie on live on fucking right out in the open. If, killed Charlie. We'll put that in parentheses. Where's the outrage?
Something alarming. What are you going to do now? The man pulls out a switchblade.
That's not a switchblade. That's a pocket knife. That's a pocket knife.
Shocked by the man's actions, the neighbors are unsure how to handle the situation as the man holds a knife in the air. I just walked into the building with this. It's not a gun, but I can pull out damage.
He's right. Armed guards at school. Fuck that, man. If you need armed guards at your school, then you need to clean up your society. The problem is much bigger than the need for armed guards at a school. It's crazy too, because he showed those people how stupid they are, and they got mad at him for it. This is like it's just everywhere. It must be like NPCs, short circuiting or some shit. We need cops at the city schools near me. Some kids bring guns too. Yeah, it's crazy. But like again, the fault is a societal one, where these kids, kids aren't bringing guns to school because everything's good at home, they have a bright future ahead, and they just decide to bring a gun one day. Most of the time, well, not most, but a lot of these times, the parents, like, I know when you're younger, you kind of don't recognize it as much, but if the mother is only 14 or 15 years older than the child, 16 years, that's fucking crazy, right? That's fucking crazy. I would rather my kids be immature than be out trying to get laid and shit at 15 years old. This is, our society is just so broken. And instead of focusing on fixing things, they have us focused on gay. He's gay. The school is telling the children that it's okay if they're gay. How dare the school? We have a society that's just flooded with alcohol. You know, it's actually pretty crazy how little alcohol is like talked about just in general. You know, there are places that all over the place where you drive to them, they serve you liquor, and then it's your fault for driving home. Like there are, you know, restaurants literally everywhere have bars. People go and have their lunch breaks and they'll have 2 or 3 drinks. I could never do it when I was in that world. If I had even 1 drink at lunch, that would mean by like 2 p.m. I'd be passed the fuck out. You ready? I'd be done. But like, think about that. Why do bars and restaurants and shit like that exist and sell alcohol and allow people to get fucked up, knowing they have to get home? I mean, you know, when I used to work as a valet, I worked as a valet at the Grosse Pointe Country Club. And the Grosse Pointe Country Club, again, just one of the richest areas in the country, like literally in the country. And we would talk about it all the time, how if the cops just sat outside the country club entrance, you know, they would meet their quota 10 times over every fucking day. We would watch, you know, these people that would park with us, they'd come out of the place just stumbling. And, you know, even if you had concern, you'd be like, this guy, you had to give him the keys because of the, you know, that guy's this guy. That guy's this, he's important. He's more important than anybody else. And you'd watch as they'd go swerving off. Now, granted, they probably only had to drive a mile or 2. But still, what do they say? Most car accidents happen within 2 miles of the house. And then I worked at what was the other place called? It's Grosse Pointe Yacht Club. And then there was the smaller club. And the smaller club had the even bigger wigs at it. It was like the more exclusive, smaller club, right? And again, these guys were just hammered. They would just be hammered. And at the same time, the Grosse Pointe is where, like, it's one of the craziest things you can ever see. So Grosse Pointe, Jefferson runs through Grosse Pointe, Jefferson Drive. And going down Jefferson Drive in Grosse Pointe is just shocking by how beautiful it is, and the houses are gigantic, and yacht clubs and all this other shit, right? Before you get to Grosse Pointe, coming up Jefferson, you have to, you know, you go through Detroit. And there's a street, the street between Detroit and Grosse Pointe is literally called Alter, Alter. And as you cross over Alter, it goes from like straight up Blight, straight up the scariest parts of Detroit, to Grosse Pointe, like night and day, literally black and white. It's that different. And the cops will sit at the border, right at that street, and just look. And if you are in, the wrong kind of car and you're the wrong color and all that, they pull you over. They have no problem pulling people over just for being black. And like it's so crazy how they love to fuck with poor black people that are barely going to be able to pay their shit if they do, compared to these white people who are, fucking extremely intoxicated, who would actually make them more money in the long run and would pay it. And yet it just don't. There's one time I'm working at the Roma, and this I thought he was Italian, but I think he's Jewish actually. This Jewish guy who drove like this really rare Mercedes AMG, like badass car, right? He, in an effort to show off to a girl, he hired me for the night to drive around him and his buddy, couple of buddies, while they were, we went to a couple of different bars, and these guys were just so the one dude was this weird Italian Jewish guy. I'm not really sure. I think he was a Jew. He was this huge asshole, and everybody sort of warned me he was a huge asshole, but I was like, I need the fucking money. And he talked about he was going to pay me like $500 to do it. He only ended up paying me like $200 or something, and I was so close to beating his ass, but I couldn't. What could I do about it? And so I worked the whole shift, and then like he needs me to drive him and his buddy around for a couple of hours. I don't know. I don't end up getting home till like 4 in the morning. But what we did was we went and we picked up. I can't remember if we picked up the gay guy first, like this total twink. Picked him up first, or we picked up his other buddy who was his last name was O'Brien, and like he was like of the O'Briens, right? Like they were the O'Briens. Everyone else is an offshoot of them. They were the O'Briens, and he had, I think, recently come home from the military or some shit. I don't know what it was, but like the Jewish guy who initially was all about the broads, but then once the gay guy was there, the idea of broads sort of disappeared. And it was those three guys, and we went to this place, like, we went where they called their coke dealer, and he showed up, and the gay guy and the Jewish guy were like, they were just being so weird, and they were talking about like the black guy was the coke dealer was this black guy. And they were like, yeah, these troglodytes, and like just the shit they were saying. And then when he got there, they were like, yo, what's up, man? Blah, blah. They were like, oh, it was all just so fake. But I ended up talking to the military guy because he seemed like he was a decent dude. And him and I just sort of hung out the whole night, kinda. But he was telling me about how, like, he came from ultra wealth like I couldn't imagine, and how incredibly privileged he was because of it. And he knew it. He was like, no, dude, I totally, like, I have every advantage in the world. He said that he got caught. He got pulled over, and he had like 10,000 ecstasy pills, coke, and Like he had a whole trunk full of drugs, and it was really an insane amount of drugs. And he was, facing a forever time in jail. And he said his dad gave the judge $1 million and everything disappeared. And because of that, that's why he ended up going in the military after that. But, he pulled up on Google Maps. He showed me the house that he lived in. And it was just this huge compound in the middle of Grosse Pointe, but in like an area you didn't know existed because it was so exclusive and far back behind, gates and shit. But they were just such horrible people. And I just kept thinking, like, why does having everything make you this? How does that happen? Outside of, traumatic abuse as a child, what makes what makes you so angry? What makes you so vile when you've had everything you could have ever wanted at your fingertips? When you've never had to work for anything in your life? Why does that make you a bad person? And I think that's kind of like we all will struggle, trials and tribulations. Struggling makes you a better person. No, I don't think that's it. Because if that was it, even though those people have had everything, having everything, as well as the struggle, the trauma, the whatever of your father abusing you, raping you, whatever, that theoretically should make you like a Superman, right? But it doesn't seem, and that's who I grew up with. It's strange because I always felt weird about telling people I went to Northville, because if you look up Northville, you're gonna think like, holy shit, you were super privileged then. And it's weird because I was in certain ways, but everything that I ever, everything always had strings attached. And the had that, the have that we had, my grandparents had money. My mom worked hard and she had a good job and stuff like that, but she always had help. There was always help, but the help, like, with, like, joy. Like, I am so happy I am in this position to help you. Everybody goes through shit, and I'm glad I can help you. It was never like that. It was always like the help had strings. Always had strings, to the point where you just didn't want to ask for help because it was seen as like, such a bad thing. If helping is failing, or getting help is failure and shit like that. My wife has that. That mentality that if you ask for help, that's weakness. No, just everybody has times when they fail. Even the people, most successful people and all that, even people who would, pretend like they've done it all themselves, self-made, this, that. Hey. Just rub his head. it's this dysfunctional bullshit that is what keeps us down. It's the I mean, again, I grew up around those people, and I just hated it so much. In a weird way, it makes you hate success because, you experience it and you think, man, if this is what success breeds, I don't want to be this. I don't want to live around this. I don't want to associate with this. So it has this psychological effect on you. I mean, I used to think about it all the time. Like, why would you, at 16, not only do you get bought a car, you get bought a brand new Mustang. Why are you, like, what are you selfish about? You didn't accomplish any of that. You didn't do that. The kids I went to school with always acted like it was theirs, It wasn't that their parents were rich, they were rich. I often watch your videos on mute. So you just are like super gay and like the way I look so much that you watch my videos on you have access to all of the YouTube, all of the interwebs there are. You could watch Facebook and Hulu and you could be anything. And instead you're going to watch me on mute. Oh, please don't insult me. Oh, that's such an insult. Like, how stupid does somebody have to be? You honestly thought that was going to be a burn? Good God. And you're not the first dumbass, fake-ass, fucking Israeli profile to say that shit. Shit is so goofy. Oh, Angela, knock it off. Jesus. Oh, come on. I mean, I swear, like, my friends growing up were the kids that, so in 8th grade, halfway through 8th grade, I moved from Plymouth Canton to Northville. Mom got a better job. We lived in the apartments, but our apartment complex wasn't like, it was an apartment complex. It doesn't matter how nice your apartment is when you're surrounded by kids who live in fucking houses as big as your entire apartment building. And I used to, ride my bike back to Canton and shit because I just could not understand. I could not get along with these racist, a lot more of them that were Jewish than I knew of. At the time that wasn't as much of a thing to, nobody talked about that. But I would, I remember it was such a culture shock for me. It was such a weird thing to go from like middle class kids, big melting pot, especially the group that I hung out with, to all white, and insecure as fuck, especially because the girls liked me. Not that I was, overly. I didn't hit puberty until 10th grade, so I was little. I was 5'6", 90 pounds in high school, or in freshman year. But because I was different, I didn't look like everybody else. the girls like me. And I was cute. I'll give myself that. I was cute, but, you know. And having the girls like me was a real big negative. And it's not something you can understand unless you've been in that situation. But guys are fucking awful. Just like girls are awful. When you're the pretty girl, when you're the hottest of the girls, girls can be catty as fuck. We used to hang out with this group of girls. We called them baseball because they were Mandy, Liz, and Becca, MLB. And then there would be other friends that would come, but they were the three main. And we'd call them baseball, right? And we'd talk about baseball in front of them, and they were too stupid to figure it out. But anytime any of them would leave, we'd all just wait for it because we just laugh. As soon as the one girl would go to the bathroom or whatever, the other goes, I hate that bitch. Oh my God, she's such a bitch. She's out with blah, blah, blah. And they would do that all the time. Each one of them would do that to each other. And my friends weren't, I wasn't friends with any rich kids. Not one. I look back on it, and my best friend was Michael. He lived in a really small, shitty house. He had two brothers and a sister. He was the youngest. By the time I came around, the oldest sister had already moved out. She was hot too. She was a bitch. But their dad had died while the mom was pregnant with him. And he was military. He had tried to stop a robbery at a fucking party store, at a convenience store, which is stupid. Just let that shit happen. They have insurance. But he got killed trying to stop a robbery, so his family got the highest pension fucking possible, and they lived well, but they just weren't those people. They weren't old money, and Northville was full of old money. My other friend Mike was from Canton, and he lived in the apartments that I grew up in Canton. Like his family was dirt poor. Batley was a dude that his family lived in the townhouses next to my apartments, which is Highland Lakes. And Highland Lakes, nowadays, those townhouses are reasonably expensive, I guess. But back then, they weren't. And Fatty, by the time I got to like 10th grade or 11th grade is when Fatty and I started hanging out. So that was way later. But Fatty's family had money and now has a lot of money, but Fatty was a fucking dork and he was Arabic. He was Palestinian. And so he had a rough go in Northville. And Fatty's a douchebag. Like he has some real big douchebag tendencies. But like none of my friends were the ones that lived in the big ass houses whose parents gave them a bunch of money and we could always do cool shit and whatnot. My group was the rejects, and we just did not fit in with the people. Like I always hated the people that would fuck with somebody that passed out. If one of your friends passes out, like okay, it's one thing to mess with them a little bit, but to do like demeaning shit, and then like one group I knew, so my friend Mike's so his older brother was only 2 years older than him, and they were raised, basically together. And so Jason's friends were Mike's friends, and Jason's friends were like the assholes of the school. Jason was cool as fuck, but his friend group was just this group of assholes. And they would do all kinds of stupid shit. Like, and you'd hear him laughing like, yeah, he passed out, so I put my balls on his forehead. You'd be like, dude, that's gay. Like, what are you doing putting your balls on another man, anything? That's just gay. That's not funny. But they would do that kind of shit all the time.
The woman finally succeeds. She keeps her window open the rest of the afternoon. But most of the bees don't sleep. Most. And for the remaining bees, the woman is forced to take extreme measures by vacuuming up the rest. This woman prefers neighbors with no stings attached.
I don't know. I think it's just so weird how society exists, how awful we are to each other. Road rage and shit, people losing their lives over somebody cutting them off or something. Like, why are we all like this? Think about, like, when I was a kid, we still lived in that era where there were jocks and there were nerds, and there were these separate groups, and the nerds were allowed to be picked on. I know that shit's changed dramatically in today's society to a point. I mean, there's still a bunch of shit that goes on. And at the same time, you have to wonder, like with the Israel, what is it called? The bonfire thing? Where they have to send specific patrols of the bonfire to stop the Utes from throwing live animals into the bonfires. Like, what the fuck creates that? Who sees a little puppy or a kitten or something and says, "Oh, let's throw that into a huge bonfire and watch it die"? Like, or if it doesn't die, I mean, you throw it in there and it happens to jump out, but it's fucking maimed and burned and like, the best thing to happen would be that it would die almost instantly. If it survives, it's gonna be mutilated, right? Why would that exist? Especially in the people that are supposedly the most moral, best people in the world, who also have the Semitism. Policy and predisposition is favorable to them. Did you hear? Did I tell you about this? This is just crazy.
Did you see the two things I sent you? One about AI.
I can't when I'm watching.
It was before you went live. And the other one was the UFC fight that was a fucking clown and a half.
Right. It's crazy. Lag BaOmer is a Jewish holiday celebrated on the 33rd day of counting the Omer, which is blah blah blah.
No, I did it.
So, they make big bonfires. Like, here's a picture of a boy collecting wood for a bonfire. Gee, that looks like it's somebody's house and fence and shit, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but wait,
that's not.
It's not the worst part. The worst part is, due to incidents involving teenagers who threw live animals into the Lag BaOmer bonfires, a group of Israelis with initiative took to patrolling the bonfires to prevent this cruel behavior. Who thinks to throw live animals into a bonfire?
It's fucking disgusting.
Like, how
You stay up here.
How gross of a human being do you have to be? What's happened to you in your life that even makes that thought come to your head? I'm going to throw this cute little thing into a bonfire. Like, it's so fucked up. And it's not like it's individual. It's not like it was a isolated incident. Obviously, it was happening so much that Goyim were paying attention, and once the Goyim start paying attention to certain things that make them look bad, they curb it.
All online cats must be registered at risk of being fined.
I mean, think about how fucking nuts this is. And think about what you see everywhere. Like, think about what motivates your average Trump supporter. Nowadays, it makes more sense to me. You know, the fact is that pedophiles support pedophiles. And I think the pedophile situation is much worse than people realize. And this is something I've said for a very long time. And the Trump, the MAGA experience proves it. But the reality is, like, Trump basically ran on being the most, racist, homophobic, sexist president to ever be presented to us. That was like the cornerstone of his campaign. And he won. Well, he didn't win the first time. He actually lost on the first two times. And it took a Joe Biden, who I haven't seen Joe since he left office. That's weird. You would think you'd have seen him since then. Let's see. Joe Biden last public appearance. Most recent public appearance was on April 14th, 2026, when he returned to his alma mater, Syracuse, to unveil his official portrait.
The reason that he stopped the bus, according to my daughter, was that some boy in the back of the bus had flipped him off.
And now the farmer claims he won't move until he has the name and address of the boy who gave him the bird.
Somebody flipped a guy off, so he's causing a problem. A kid on a bus flipped me off, so I don't like that. What kind of nutcase gives a shit about some kids flipping you off on a bus? Are you really that much of a fucking loser?
The reason why I started recording is I have no idea where this is about to go.
It takes 90 seconds for this NASA-engineered AC cool down your room. It's smaller than a toaster.
About being disrespected, underestimated, and counted out. South Carolina,
Direct history.
Growth and respect for Americans soared around the world. Around the world. Despite everything you read, despite the fact that
So he's talking about fake
migration
news.
to record levels all around the world. The day I left office.
Hey.
That's just a fact. On the day I left office, I handed Trump the strongest economy in the world. In the world. That's not hyperbole. That's a fact.
Stop. What are you doing?
We need our responsibility to leave our children a better planet. Our allies knew they could trust us.
Is there something back here? Or are you just fucking around?
40 times 2 plus a lot more. Well, I know more heads of state well than any president of the United States of America in all of history, just because I've been doing it so long. And folks, one more thing.
I don't remember this being that. Look, this only has 7,000 views on it.
Respect it and follow the Constitution.
Interesting, isn't it? Why would this only have 7,000 views?
The reason I was able to become many of the people sitting right in front of me.
Ah.
Not a joke. From the mayor.
He seems like he's all there to me.
But none of that's true today. Now the Trump administration is determined to erase all the gains we made in my administration. And the rest of the world is taking note. A poll by a respected Pew Research Center showed the dramatic drop in our reputation around the world. We're no longer viewed the way we were. And folks, if we don't lead the world, who does? Who does?
The world doesn't need to be led.
I'm looking for trouble. But who does if we don't lead the world? China? Russia? Trump doesn't think climate change is real. So he's walked away from the historic investments and commitments we made to clean energy and saving this planet. In 10 to 20 years, I believe people look back and write about what a catastrophic mistake it was what he's doing. We don't have to wait 10 years. We know what a grave mistake it is right now. We know a catastrophic it is for the Trump administration to undermine America's commitment to vaccinations.
Oh, yeah.
America's walking away from a commitment to vaccines.
Good.
Did anyone ever think you'd ever see a resurgence of measles in America again?
The resurgence of measles in America happened in 2018. And it was 2019. In the beginning of 2019, they tried to say there was a resurgence of measles because in neighborhoods like Curious Joel and Lakewood, measles suddenly appeared. You know, the places with the direct connection to Israel, suddenly measles appeared. And they tried to get us to vaccinate over it. Threatening people, oh my God, it's the measles, everybody loses their mind, it's the measles. And we didn't. We were just like, yeah, my fucking family had measles, German measles, regular measles, all of it. It's like a week of being uncomfortable. It's okay, I don't need to take a shot for that. And so they had to change it up. Well, I had to bring something new to the table. I don't have a micro penis. No, I'm not John Holmes or anything, but I don't have a micro penis. That's for sure. Gosh, and that's just got to be such a horrible thing, man. I'm so glad I don't have that because it clearly makes them so awful, just disgusting and unbearable. Such unbearable tyrants. Stop. Good boy, bring it back. Bring it back. Good boy, good boy. Good job. Get it, buddy.
But also be quick thinking in order to make it back to their van unscathed.
Yeah, what a surprise, guys. We have pedophiles on the page, and they vote for Trump. Yeah. I mean, that's why he's so popular in Israel. You know, they love them some pedos. Stop. Stop. I mean, I just, it's like everything else, man. We just have to be honest about things. If anybody can honestly tell me that the friar cult isn't pedophilic at its root, then okay, let's hear what you have to say. Yeah. Anyway, I'm losing my drive here. It's oh.
But not to this little guy. He's okay. Well, accidents can occur all over the playground.
Oh.
There's one area that has neighbors growing most concerned. Junction, Virginia. For a laugh, a teenage boy wedges himself into the baby suite next to his sister. But no one's laughing minutes later when getting out proves harder than getting in. And while he finally wiggles free and goes for mom, this teen's swinging days look to be over. And yet, this is far from an isolated incident. As multiple reports pop up of teens being stuck in the playground.
Yeah.
So what compels these young adults
Anyway, so you have yourself a great day.
intended for children no older than 5?
And you pedophiles, you kill yourself.
It isn't just teens we should be